Hello and welcome, Internet. This is Kaimerra, and we are doing our first actual interview. We thought we'd do this meet and greet for everyone to get a kind of feel for what Kaimerra is and who we are and what we're trying to do at Kaimerra. This is our very first interview, so we're going to play it fast and loose. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a lot of the talking points that we want to get done today, but overall, we're just here to kind of have fun and be able to start sharing our message with the broader internets. So with that kind of started, I'd like to over to Ryan, who is right over here. He is one of the original founders of Kaimerra, and we want him to give a kind of brief background of where Kaimerra came to be and kind of how we got to creating the company to start with.
Yeah, so Kaimerra started as a sort of free and loose project. We had another team member, Brett, who's not here with us today, join, and he was really excited about getting into things and just wanted to do sort of like free-form project. We got to thinking about what are the different things we could possibly do, and one of the ideas was to try and connect different game worlds together. So that could be something like, we have Minecraft, we want to connect it to Terraria, we want to try and connect it to the real world, we want to connect all of the different things together. So like, how can we make that work? We spent a good couple months working on iterating on different prototypes for this, and some of the project ideas we landed on were creating a shared space between a couple different digital spaces, so Minecraft and Terraria and the web, where we have a kind of two-dimensional canvas where anyone can draw and participate, whether you're in Minecraft or Terraria or browsing it on the web from your phone or your computer. That was a pretty cool, compelling experience. We had more projects like that where we could inject different kinds of textures into Doom and old school games. We had a couple other ones. What were they?
I think we had, we had a few early integrations. So we had connected the internet to Terraria, to Minecraft. We then had some interesting connections into Doom. We had some interesting connections into Valheim, actually.
Yeah.
So we had Valheim going.
So that was just when it was kind of getting off.
Yeah.
Skyrim as well?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have Skyrim as well.
And that was cool because you could see from the web as players are moving around in Skyrim the kind of path they would follow, and if they got like knocked flying up into the air by a giant or something, like you could see all of that in real time. And it was interesting getting that data from the game into these kind of new formats where like people could interact with it and experience it in real time in like a new way. And like one of the cool things was that is we can transfer some of the experience from these games into a lower immersion, lower fidelity experience where like you don't have to install Steam on your computer. You don't have to be like a gaming enthusiast to appreciate some of the cool moments that people immersed in these worlds can share. So that was some of the idea behind creating a canvas split between Minecraft and Terraria and other games, where we can kind of expose some of that to the real world. Like another example, we didn't do this, but Wordle's been huge. And that's kind of the experience where that we're looking to create, not just for a 5-letter word guessing game, but for all kinds of experiences you can have online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely say when we were doing some of these early prototypes, my first like aha moment that kind of clicked that I think there's something here would have been when we connected a website that we had that was this interesting interface that connected into both Minecraft and Terraria. So this idea that we could send a link out, and we did. So we sent a link out to a friend, and they were able to then draw on a website, and we were able to see that immediately inside Minecraft, and we were also able to see it inside Terraria in real time. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, something's happened here. We've connected something together in a novel way that was, it was a big aha moment. That was like, oh man, there's something here. So I can remember that moment very fondly in the early days of this project. With that, I'd like to give a moment to introduce. We have both Tova and Randy, if you have read any content, that is our blog or our website or anything on social media, this is our two-team combo that is kind of handling all our narrative of what makes Kaimerra sound cool and sound interesting. It's coming from these two brains right here. So I want to give a chance to both introduce them and kind of say what kind of initially intrigued them when they were brought on to Kaimerra and with the things that they found interesting and wanted them to be kind of a part of this story early on.
Is it okay if I go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So my initial excitement, I think, came from the idea of finding these interesting connections between spaces. Some of my past professional experience has come from an interest in digital accessibility. I have worked in spaces where we are trying to increase access to digital spaces or to group activities in general. For example, assistive hearing systems for conference and meeting spaces, and web standards for things like making sure that web pages are parsable by screen readers or by other technologies that people use to access the internet if they have any type of disability. And I think there is a lot of really great work being done by game studios to broaden access to their games and to allow people to customize their own game experiences. And I think that there is enormous potential for allowing players themselves to kind of create the accessibility features that they're looking for their own communities. So that's really what grabbed me in the first place. And what I'm looking at currently is it's playing off of one of Ryan's current projects, which is a Minecraft mod. I'm looking at ways that we can connect geocaching, which is like a real world ARG where you go out into your lived environment and you find little treasure troves that have been hidden by other people. And we are looking at ways that we can incorporate that into Minecraft and into other games. And geocaching and Pokemon Go and similar ARG properties are historically, they are currently not very accessible to people. So if you happen to live in an urban space that doesn't have a lot of geocaches, or if you're way the heck out in a rural area, you may not actually be able to play. And that's been true of Pokemon Go as well. And so I'm very curious to find ways that we can maybe combine the ARG experience with digital gameplay so that we can give people that are more geographically isolated or disabled ways to experience those types of play in a way that's a little richer, a little more rewarding than what's been available so far. How about you, Randy?
I am a writer and a visual artist, a creative toe to tip. And that's primarily how my contributions to Kaimerra have gone. I've been, helping with the words, I helped with the logos, the website design and all that. The thing that really excited me about the project as it was presented to us was that idea of modality shifting, with the Skyrim. It's like, oh, you get to basically see this little world line of the mans, and how that presents information in a new way. Modality shifts of information allow recontextualization, both literally but also within the observer. And as someone with ADHD and other neurodivergent learning differences, oftentimes the best way for me to learn something that I'm having trouble with is to switch the modality of it and think about it from a different perspective. Also, even in creative stuff, I always have trouble when someone gives me a blank page and says just write whatever, I'm locked up. But if someone gives me a sentence and then says write a short story from the sentence, I'm good to go. And having that sort of context and being able to control the context and shift the context and change it, from person to person. Everyone can look at things in their own specific, comfort zone. It allows people to come up with new ideas and see things in ways that might not have been possible, as you say, for accessibility reasons, availability reasons, or any of those reasons. It's good for getting other people who are not traditionally involved with these things involved with them, and that's exciting for me. But yeah, my work with Kaimerra has been mostly the writing and the visual stuff. I have learned a lot actually in the past couple months. I just started learning Blender, which has been scary.
We're gonna have some cool animations coming soon. So
yeah. So it's learning a lot about logo design, learning about Blender. It's been a growing experience for me, and that is very exciting for me.
No, I think it's been great. And then, the content that we see that has been coming out in the early days, obviously, we've evolved a lot in the idea and as we've progressed, but every time, the type of narrative and the type of kind of thread line through our ideas that we've seen as it evolves has always been, very compelling. And a lot of times that's thanks to the clarity that's come from both Tove and Randy. A lot of times trying to take things that sound kind of dreamy and outlandish and then kind of turn that into something that can anyone else understand how cool this is? We have to use words to do something like that. And they've done a very good job, and I've been very excited about it. Kind of with that, talking about the evolution of kind of how we've been going, it'd be interesting to talk about some of the recent thread lines that we're trying to see. What's our overall theme that we've been going for? And lately, a lot of our newer project ideas have been around this idea of empowerment of creatives that want to have their message to share. They want to be able to express themselves, whether it's kind of artistically or thematically, and be able to do it in the places where everyone is already, right? Whether you're out in the real world, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Minecraft, whether you're on TikTok, wherever you may be, there's this idea that you should have the ability to share and express your ideas in context with the places you already are. And I think some of these have been the evolution of our ideas lately, and some of our newest projects are trying to hit some of these notes. So I wanted to give a chance for us to talk about some of our newer project ideas. One of the biggest ones is a project called Wayward Words that's been headed up by Ryan. So I wanted to give him a chance to kind of talk about Wayward Words, what it's about, and what you're currently excited about.
Yeah, so I'll jump in there. Wayward Words right now is a Minecraft mod. We have way bigger plans for it in the future. Currently, the experience you can get, and it's available on CurseForge now for both Forge and Fabric Minecraft servers. What we present is a way to create caches of hidden information in Minecraft. And how that works is you can place an item frame, or what I'd like to visualize is kind of like a portal into this cache on a block in Minecraft, and you can put stuff in it, whether that's like a book that you've written in Minecraft, or treasure, or some hints or clues for a story that you're working on, some sort of creative experience that you want to draw other players into. And then you can seal the cache, and that's uploaded to a server where anyone else running the mod on any other map can find. So the way that works is we use the blocks around wherever you're storing the cache to create a sort of virtual fingerprint that you can compare across different Minecraft worlds. So maybe I'm going to hide it in a villager house in Minecraft in a forest. Any other player in any other village in Minecraft, whether it's the same world or on a different server or in single player or an adventure map, as long as the blocks around it are close enough, you'll be able to find it as if it was actually hidden there. So this gives you the ability to create these sort of a little bit more immersive experiences where you can add bits of narrative, you can add hints and treasures to the game, and it's all community driven. So maybe you want to make a story about how a villager packed up and left and then went to a pyramid to try and seek treasure. In Minecraft, you can actually embed those experiences in any Minecraft world and make it accessible to all sorts of other players. And I'm super excited about continuing to build and develop that out, because our longer term vision is to make it not just in Minecraft, but in other games as well. Can we create an experience that can go from Minecraft to Terraria? Can we make it to Fortnite? Can we make it to Valheim or Elden Ring? And what bits of this experience that players can create and share with each other can cross worlds like that? I'm like super excited about creating a sort of story, a scavenger hunt even, where I start in Minecraft and then I can hop over to Elden Ring and then like maybe circle back to Fortnite and incorporate an experience that crosses all of those borders. And that's part of what we're trying to do here with Kaimerra, where we want to break down the walls that are holding all of these games apart, so creators can create an experience that really transcends, you know, any one individual like game experience. So then we've got some interesting updates coming soon with that. We've just released the Forge update that allows server owners to configure a allowed list of items to spawn and players to create the caches. So if they want to have a curated experience where they've built an exciting adventure map and they want to embed extra goodies for players to find, they're totally able to do that. And we've got some more visual updates that you'll be able to see on our blog soon for coming updates.
No, I think it's very cool. We've already seen some of the early testers have some pretty interesting stories that they've been sprinkling around in Minecraft, and it's pretty cool. Kind of with that, the other big project we've been working on outside of kind of the gaming universe is we were trying to break down the walls of kind of the internet in general. So we have this project called Kaimerra Graffiti, and the idea behind it is that we're trying to get a combination of both comments. So imagine you are on the New York Times and you see a piece of the article written that you would like to share your comments or thoughts on. You can do it directly on the website, and that can be shared with whoever follows you. So whoever's interested in your thoughts and what you have to say, you would then be able to go on to any website, kind of take the content that you find interesting and be able to make a comment about it and kind of share your slice and your perspective. The other thing that we're probably super excited about, because this is the one I worked on, so I'm a little biased there. I'm excited about the piece that is more of the idea of when it comes to graffiti, this idea of being able to draw or be able to mark up this idea of the internet. So you could imagine yourself going into like youtube.com, into your favorite video. You know, it's our classic ones we've been using lately, something like if you're very interested in Stranger Things, that's what we're doing right now. You could go into the trailer. You could kind of go into a scene. You're on 3 seconds into the Stranger Things video. You could highlight all the Easter eggs that you have been dying to tell your friends about, that you're on to something. And then you could actually draw and mark up directly on that video. And you could share that with your friends and anybody else wants to follow you. So this idea that normally a place like YouTube or Netflix or the New York Times, it's a walled garden and you only get to hear the perspective of the people who own that website. And what this kind of does with graffiti is we're breaking that open so that everyone has a chance to kind of make their mark on both the video side and on the article side. So that's an exciting project. Stay tuned. It's going to be starting off as a Chrome extension, will be its first release. So you'll be able to download that from the Chrome store once it gets approved. But even before that, a lot of our functionality comes out in our Discord. So if you want to get the earliest of early access, joining our Discord, which we'll link, of course, in this video, the ability to kind of find us where we do most of our actual work is in our Discord. That's probably the best place to find us and to get early access. So kind of with those two big projects that we're working on, one is kind of internet-based, one is kind of game-based. There's a lot of time to spend in these kind of virtual worlds, but we're also thinking about ways to kind of break into the real world. And there's some cool ideas that we've had around that both Tova and Randy have kind of been thinking about and working on. I want to give a chance we'll start off with Randy to kind of say some of our current thinkings and thoughts about the types of stuff we could do potentially in the real world and connect them together into these virtual spaces.
Yeah. So yeah, like geocaching. We've all heard of it. It ties back to the idea of like modality shifting that I get excited about. Is that like the excitement of coming across a cache in Wayward Words or any sort of like exploratory thing of where you're stumbling around, like just like you're looking for stuff and you stumble across a thing, and that thing, that discovery, that excitement, like what if it was not limited to just the spot? Like what if you could translate that sort of discovery to other contexts and modalities? And the idea of like combining real world geocaching and the Wayward Words mod and stuff is something that gets us really exciting. Lately there was a big hit. You might have heard of it, Pokemon Go. The works by Niantic kind of already like tap into that sort of real world meets digital scavenger hunt excitement and modality crossing. And I think that like there is definitely an untapped well of just like curiosity, just like geographic curiosity, geometric curiosity. There's a reason why games like Minecraft are so popular. Like people love to look for things, and it turns out you can do that in a lot of different contexts. And I think Tova might have a little bit more to say about how geocaching is how people interact with geocaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I have been doing a lot of geocache hunting in the New York Hudson Valley area over the last several weeks, and the things that I have found, I hadn't been super into geocaching before this. I'd done a little bit here and there over the last couple of years, but something that I have found is that there's kind of an ethos among geocachers, among people who like search for caches, and among people who place them, that you want to place a cache somewhere that you want folks to appreciate as a space. So someone might place a cache, for example, I just found one in upstate New York that was placed right near the remains of an old water mill. So it was like attached to a guardrail, and to actually reach the cache, you were at a break in the wall and you could look down into the water and you could see like the actual old mill building, and then scattered around the park area were pieces of the old mill. And it was really interesting. And it's not a space that you would kind of find by coincidence. And the act of like retrieving the geocache and opening it up and signing your name, like it causes you to physically interact with the space. Like you're leaning on this old stone wall, like you're looking around, you're getting like all of the like sensory inputs of that space, the sound of the water, bird song, it's a lot more immersive than you might expect. And I think also that even though there are pretty specific rules for placing a cache, what you can have in it, how you can describe it, people have found ways to very much like make the caches their own in terms of like the story they craft around it or what they include. I found my first piece of trackable swag. It's basically people who geocache a lot will often have like little pieces of like little dog tags or something with a serial number engraved on them, and then like their own personal, like their name, some kind of logo or emblem. And those are meant to be moved from cache to cache. So I found this tag in upstate New York, and I'm probably going to take it down to Georgia with me. And the team is from Pennsylvania. And this isn't I don't think, I was going to say, I think this is a feature that's supported by vanilla geocaching, geocaching.com to some extent, but there are also other services that allow for kind of more data-rich, trackable stuff, which I think is really interesting. So I think the opportunities for personal expression and storytelling are really cool in geocaching, even though I don't think that was like the original intent of the game. And something else that I found interesting that really ties into our idea of like breaking down walls between these walled gardens is that I submitted my first cache placement for approval, and it's in the review stage. And one of the things that I've been told to like remove from the description, and like this is not a dig against geocaching. I love you guys. Please don't ban my account. That I mentioned Pokemon Go in the description of the cache because I was like, hey, this is a park. It's got a playground. It's got it's got this and that. It's got a pollinator garden, and there's some like Pokemon Go attractions if that's your thing. Mm-hmm. And the moderator wrote back and they were like, you can't talk about Pokemon Go. And I was like, okay, sad face. And I think the idea of like tying these different gaming experiences together in a way that has a little bit more appreciation for the fact that we're all inhabiting these different spaces, and for the fact that like there's really, to me, it's really not an issue of competition. Probably like somebody who does geocaching also has Pokemon Go installed on their phone. Like those are totally compatible ecosystems. And I really do like the idea of allowing people to use the data that they're generating and use the stories that they're telling across their spaces. I think there is enormous potential for somehow combining the scavenger hunt, treasure hunting features of Wayward Words with actual real world locations. And also I think possibly with these like annotation of the internet features. I can totally see this all kind of coming together in interesting and unexpected ways. So
yeah.
I find that really exciting.
Yeah. I kind of want to jump in there. As you were talking, it just reminded me of like so many different aspects of geocaching that would be really cool to bring to a digital space where it's like, you had mentioned before, you kind of trace the lineage of various tags across the world. Maybe it starts in upstate New York, then it goes down to Pennsylvania, then to Georgia, over to California. And like, what if you could see that sort of experience travel from games like Minecraft to Valheim to Call of Duty to the next big game that comes out? It'd almost be like looking down like a rabbit hole, like a YouTube video tunnel of like, how has this crossed history as it's been written in video games through time? And then also the other aspect of geocaching that I really like is that it draws you out from the linear experience of kind of playing a game where like, I have to get to the next quest. I have to turn this in. I have to go here to like, all right, I have to immerse myself in this space. And I have to try and find something minute in the details around where I'm exploring. I've traveled through hundreds of forests in Minecraft effectively, and Skyrim and Valheim, but like, if there's an experience that can make me pause and look around and appreciate all of the finer details that the creative teams have put into curating those environments, and like find something compelling that like one of my friends or a creator I like online has embedded in there for me to find, I think it could just accentuate the sort of gaming experience in such a novel way. So like, I'm super excited for that, not just in Wayward Words, but also in Kaimerra Graffiti, because we're all familiar with the experience of like reading an article on the website, but like when you can open that up to your peers to create a shared space for you, that brings some of that same experience of like, I'm participating in something bigger than just, consuming something on the internet as I usually do. So super excited about all those aspects, and how we can continue to build that out.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, that's where a lot of the fun and excitement comes out when we start seeing these things, especially these things that connect things together. It's one of our main kind of overarching things that we talk about, is this idea that like currently when something like the metaverse is talked about, they'll talk about the metaverse, especially when it's coming from the angle of kind of big tech. It's just a new place, right? It's a new virtual place where they're hoping everyone will come to their new place that they just made, and they're kind of coining this as the metaverse. But that's not really how we as a company have been thinking about it, which is much more of that it's about connecting all these places together. And there's something about being able to connect many places together and kind of make your mark as you go along through all these places, whether it's, geocaching, which is out in the real world, or it's a video game like we've been talking about with Minecraft, or in the places of the internet where you spend an enormous amount of time currently. At least I can speak for myself. And then on top of that, we have new metaverses, just like these big tech companies are making. There's something about the ability to go through them in an interesting way. This idea that you can kind of connect all these places together, and there's something interesting that happens from the connection. The connection is what is interesting, and the self-expression as you go in through it is what's interesting. And that's what we think is more meta. There's something more meta about that feels like it kind of owns that kind of phrase of metaverse a little bit better, at least from our perspective, than just another virtual world to inhabit.
I think it's worth pointing out that some of this rhetoric is also used to describe NFTs, and that is not what we are doing. That is not what we are doing.
Yeah, NFTs are definitely very interesting, and it's been intriguing to see the kind of ebbs and flows of this kind of industry when it comes from things like NFTs and cryptos and metaverses and VR and AR and kind of navigating all these spaces. But like, we're trying to focus on connecting things together and building communities and building experiences. And the way we're trying to build them is not saying that we're going to make these experiences. We're trying to empower everyone else to kind of create the experiences that they want to make. And that's just something I really want to drive home, that we're very excited about, because there's something very different when you feel empowered to do those types of interactions across things that you normally couldn't, right? There's something very empowering all of a sudden in a place that you had no access to at all whatsoever. And all of a sudden now you can put your message, and you can share your drawing, or you can put your treasure, or you can share your geocache, or something just really fun and exciting about that.
I kind of want to jump in there, like to share some of the inspiration that catalyzed some of these ideas we had. We took experiences from games like Dark Souls, where you could leave messages for other players. Games like Nier Automata, where, spoiler alert, there is a really compelling kind of networked event that you just completely hits you by surprise. And I had another one, but Death Stranding, another great example of a game where you're actually in that game connecting all of these regions that have become disconnected, disparate, back to each other. And then you're also interfacing with the rest of the community of Death Stranding players as you're building something great together. You're repairing America effectively.
Literally building bridges.
Yeah. So a lot of that experience is something we're trying to create an agnostic version of that can be realized in the real world effectively. How can we create that same sort of experience, or enable people to create that experience no matter what game they're playing, no matter what their hobbies are, what digital spaces they love to inhabit, and like how can we open that up? And that's the real meta thing, where it's kind of like it comes from you. It's not necessarily coming from the thing that we're creating. We're just opening the doors for you, and we're giving you the keys to create something extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good point. And then kind of with that, I think we can speak to, like, this is our vision. It might be interesting to give at least a couple tidbits of like, what are some of our interesting lessons learned along the way of these projects? I can speak for, at least from my angle, is that as we've kind of gone about this, a lot of the founding team is made up of engineers. And then from that, our next expansion came creatives like Tova and Randy in that space. But we're still very, very small. But something we had realized is it's not enough to make cool stuff. Like we would create all these prototypes that seemed very engaging and very fun. We'd be like, oh, people are definitely going to want this. It's been an interesting lesson learned of if people don't know about what you've made, it really doesn't matter how cool it is or how great it is. What's important is that you need some way of getting that message out and in a way that seems authentic and earnest. There's always, especially as engineers, I get kind of an itchy feeling. I have like an allergic reaction if something feels too sales pitchy, and that just kind of feels wrong. I want it to feel like, you should want this because I think it's cool, and you should be interested because just look how much fun we're having, rather than it seems like something that like, you should get this because, you know, a marketing team has gotten together and crafted the perfect message of kind of how to sell it to you. But it turns out that's hard. Marketing is very, very difficult. Getting the message out is very, very hard. And it's something that what I like as a company is we're always trying new things, and we're not perfect at it, and we're trying to figure it out as we're going, and we're going to learn. It's going to be a process. But that's been one of the initial hurdles here. It's like, how do you get the message out about the things you're doing in like an interesting, compelling way? Has definitely been a growth moment for us as a company. I'm just gonna, anybody can pitch in if you have one that kind of comes to your mind, but everything kind of along the way that you found that it was an interesting lesson learned, or just something that was harder than you thought it might be.
Interesting lesson learned, I think, you know, as not quite an elder millennial, but I'm 32, is not to, I guess what I want to say is that like inspiration for these projects can come like completely out of left field and just really surprise you. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know what actually led me there, but I ended up on Wattpad because they have annotation features that are kind of similar to what we're trying to expand with our Chrome extension. And I was completely blown away by the level of engagement that Wattpad readers and creators have with each other, just in terms of like raw numbers for one, but two, in just like the depth of interaction. You know, I opened a Wattpad story and people are able to like very minutely like customize the visual experience of what they publish. And then readers are able to go like paragraph by paragraph and leave feedback and comments and reactions. And I think that that's definitely it's a new way of reading. And I think it dovetails with say like the Twitch chat experience, where people are able to like react in real time to what's happening, or even like Facebook Live, where you can just like spam the heart button and like the creator can see your feedback more or less immediately, or with a very brief delay. I think part of that, what fascinates me, is also kind of how the intent of, you know, the companies that have created these products, and how user feedback and data about how people are actually using these spaces, like how they kind of feed off of each other. I think it's just the ways that we have conversation on the internet have evolved in so much since, God, like back in like 1995, when I was logging into AOL on my dad's computer, and just like the ways that we can share information are absolutely fascinating. Like as a non-technical person, seeing the ways that like developers can take the data that we're generating and interpret them and reorganize them is really, really cool. But I think just like something that has surprised me is where inspiration can come from. And I think that y'all's like, not Wild West, but y'all's like willingness to explore and like, go spaghetti mode and try things and pick things apart, just to kind of, see where the puzzle pieces fall, has been a delight. So I'm just, I'm so excited to see where we go from here.
One of the things that it's been exciting for me to learn is that there are a lot of other people in this space too that are doing cool things, trying to break down walls between games and trying to continue to develop this like ecosystem of various interpretations of what metaverse means to them. So a couple things that I'm like super excited about. Crowd Control is another cool program to check out, where you can engage as a Twitch streamer with your audience and allow them to change bits and facets in your game live as you're playing it and communicating with them. So that's like a cool way that allows you to kind of engage in these game worlds in a different way. And we're really excited about that too. So.
Yeah, I think crowd control was pretty cool. One of the times when, at least the first time I had used it, it was just something pretty wild about being in the audience, so to speak. Like you're on the other end of Twitch as the consumer. You're watching your Twitch streamer, let's say trying to play through a Zelda game, and then all of a sudden you can be like, I'm going to press a button and I can make them, 1 inch tall, or I can make them as big as a mountain. There's something novel and fun there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was on Twitch last week, and one of the streamers I was watching had crowd control enabled, and he's like, oh man, I'm doing like a randomizer run, so that it means that they encounter bosses randomly, stages randomly, so they don't necessarily have all the items they need. And they had just run out of the sticks that they can use to kind of like, they're multifaceted, but he's like, if I had one more, and then I could just give him one more. From Twitch, I just like click the button and it's like, bam, now you have it. And he's like, wow, I can engage with them in a way that's completely novel and that they super appreciate in that moment they did. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, so with that beat, all the content that we've made so far, we'd probably give a kind of moment to kind of highlight the places where people can find us. I don't know if we give it a moment to you, Tova, like where do you think are the best places to kind of reach all the content that we've been making?
Well, you can go to our website, www.kaimerra.com. Anything glitchy on there is my fault. Sorry. We are also on Twitter at, I believe, Kaimerra_HQ. What is our Twitch handle? Is it Kaimerra_HQ? We're trying to get this stuff unified. We're doing our best. We also have a subreddit, which I believe is just our Kaimerra. And we are in, various phases of like creating content for those places. So, not quite as active currently as I would like. I've been out in the woods geocaching, but we are, and we also have a Discord. So if you go to Kaimerra.com, you can find an invite link to our Discord. Please come hang out with us.
You can see the links below.
Yes,
can they? They'll be there.
Wherever they'll be. There they
on the
are.
wall.
Yep.
Where the fire extinguisher is. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Where else? Anything else y'all want to highlight?
I'm trying to think. I guess maybe.
Yeah, we do technically have a TikTok.
Theoretically have TikTok.
I think that'll be one of those kind of big ones now. Is like we're kind of trying to be in all things at the moment because we want to try to have full coverage, but we're looking to find people that are interested in the space, whether they are just interested at being kind of early testers, or they're just intrigued by the idea, or they're already making things in the space and want to find interesting ways to collaborate. Start reaching out and communicating us, because we'll spend the effort wherever we're finding the most engagement. So if it turns out that it's YouTube and that's where y'all would like to engage the most at, that's where we'll meet you. If you want to meet us in Reddit of all places, we'll meet you there. But at the end of the day, we're still trying to figure out of those who would be interested in these kinds of interesting ideas that are kind of metaversing and gaming and connecting. Wherever y'all live, reach out to us and we'll come to you. So I think that's it. So I want to thank everyone for doing the interview with us. Again, we did it kind of fast and loose. I also want to give a shout out to Toph and Randy to kind of help give us a little initial structure to this, even though, it's kind of loose in structure, but we're going to try to do more of this. We'll get better at it as we go, but we're having fun as we're going about it. And it's great. So thank you very much. Until next time, everyone.
Quick shout out to
production
Legacy Squad. We got Ray and Kiki in the back. They helped us put this together, and they're what enabled us to have this awesome
Yeah.
set. So
We feel very professional now.
is so
It really elevated things.
yeah,
I was fucking do this on the couch.
if you're in Connecticut, look them up.
Yeah.
All right. Till next time.
Pay